Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters. We're taking a look here at Emmet and Archeops here. Archeops? Archeops? Archaeology. So it's probably Archeops. I know someone's going to be on my ass about that one. Anyway, I like saying Archeops though. Whatever. He got the EX roll, which is support, and it's a pretty good EX roll for him for sure. It definitely does do quite a bit of enabling. Is it the best one for him? Nah, honestly, I think Field would have probably been better. But whatever, I mean, it's still a good EX roll for sure, and it does apply some good buffs to him. Emmet's big base kit thing was having, for one, to be above 50% health because of healthy strength 5, and also having good rock damage with sand superiority 3. So you want sand up, you want him to be above 50% health, and then he's going to do some good damage with his hit the gas boosted stone edges and rock slide, which have, of course, good inherent multipliers, on top of offensive maxing with this trainer move plus, damage guard, sync acceleration. I think he's got accuracy buffs too, all that stuff, and dire hit plus here as well for crit maxing. And the big thing with the support X roll that is really solid for him, other than just, of course, getting a striker nuke and getting in a support X roll alongside that, just, the extra damage, he has Sand Sync, which sets Sand upon using his Sync move. Very good for any team combination that can extend Sand, such as Neo Champion Silver, or maybe Variety Giovanni. Cynthia is a pretty good example, too. Basically, any team that can make abuse of Sand, having Emmet use his Sync move, not only for damage purposes, but also to set Sand is actually very, very nice. And I've got myself a battle at the end with an ultimate battle versus Duroc that really makes good abuse of that. He does have a nuke with Sand Blaster, but really it's not that great. I mean, it's fine damage, but it's really not that great at all. And he's also got some other stuff like Critical Strike 2 on Stone Edge, as well as Head Start 1 for some Sync Countdown, and a few other things, but mostly that's it. He did also get Fair Tiles with Vigilance, Defense Crush 9, Sync Damage Guard, and Mighty Physical boost on his trainer move, but I'm not going to personally be candying him to 5 out of 5, because as much as I do like Emmet, he's my 4th favorite character. I'm not really a big fan of these tiles. I don't think it really buffs him that much. I don't think I'm really going to try and pick up much of what is in his 5 out of 5 tiles compared to what I would already pick up with him at 3 out of 5. It's just not worth it to me, but whatever. Let's go ahead, hop into the battles, take a look at Emmet with his new EX roll upgrade, and just see what he can do. So our first battle here is against Marshall for a generic off-type setup with Ingo and Signasuit Diantha. Signasuit Diantha. This is your pretty much most basic setup to do any setup with Emmet, whether it be on-type or off-type. You'll be going to, your Sand Setter and fellow trained brother Ingo, and then the only Rock Sun Setter we actually have. Of course, you could alternate with someone like Paolo for better sand, some damage, sync countdown and whatnot, right? Or maybe Signasuit Silver for more damage without Rock Zone. Also, potentially some sync ramping. The Johto Circle's nice for the physical moves next. Whatever, right? And the Master Passive too. So, there's a few different setups you could do, but this is probably the most basic one of them. This doesn't really make too much direct utilization of Emmet's. Well, I mean, it makes use of Emmet's EX roll in the sense that he is syncing instead of Ingo, which, of course, does give us some damage, right? Like, we took about 20% of Marshall's health off just from that first sync move with Emmet, which, is pretty good. So I guess that's decent utilization of the EX roll, right? And, of course, he does do a lot more damage after, support EX, which is, of course, great. Do still have to manage the Rock Zone Sand a little bit because of Diantha. Oh, Diantha, you are so good with your Rock Zone setting. I hate using Diantha for that stuff. Even with the extension, Diantha feels really, really unfortunate, I guess, when setting Rock Zone, just because of how long it does not last. Whatever, I mean, Emmet is still doing good damage, right, of course, with the Rock Slide, just doing a ton of damage there, KOing the enemies, and the Stone Edge did great as well. I mean, post-support EX, Emmet's doing good damage, he's still got the Rock Zone, Sand, all multipliers are effectively activated. He does good damage, and of course we still make utilization of the Sand Sync there as well to set Sand, so we could not have to waste too much with Ingo, or spend as many turns with Ingo setting Sand. It works out in the end for the most part. So yeah, that was fine. Nothing really too crazy there. We also, I'm pretty sure, utilized some sync ramping with Head Start 1 on Ingo, as well as the -1 sync countdown from Emmet's trainer move and Diantha's trainer move. So you do have a little bit of sync countdown abilities there. Emmet does have Head Start 1 in the grid, but I opted to run a different grid instead, so I wasn't really worried too much about that. So I went with all just Head Start 1 and Ingo, because of course Vigilance is not a necessity unless the enemies have a ton of crits. So yeah. Anyway, that was the first setup. Emmet using this sync move for support EX on top of getting some decent damage in is definitely some pretty good, I guess, maintaining of tempo, right? Like, you don't have to use your very weak support EX. Instead, you can use your striker, which does decent damage on top of then getting support EX afterwards. So it does maintain, I guess, team tempo, which is something for sure. Battle here is more so one that I found to be fun, not really in a practical sense, but in the fact that you could run triple Universe Strike with this specific thing. And I went ahead and used Alder just for an easier showing of an example. I mean, any off-type stage will work, but I figured just I would use, sorry, not Alder, I would just use the stage, right? But whatever, it doesn't matter too much. If I were to change a few things here, I would probably make it so I don't use Hilda's trainer move twice, because she literally does nothing in this battle except apply to Nate's master passive and his, well, I guess just his master passive, right? And the circle, too, so yeah. We use Emmet's, again, sync move here for some damage, as well as, of course, getting in the support EX. Would it be better to use Nate's? Probably not, because Emmet is on type here. Maybe. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter too much because of the damage. The damage just doesn't matter considering how much Hilda and Emmet can both do, so I don't really think it matters too much. Either way, this is definitely ensured to KO the enemies in some capacity because you've got the Dark Blink Outrage, you've got Diamond Storm, and you had Rock Slide all queued up at the same time. They were going to go down. Nothing really to worry about there. Probably could have run some extra sync countdown there because the battle was as short as is. And of course, Hilda did not contribute much in that battle at all. But it was mostly just showing of Emmet also still being able to utilize being a attack tank, kind of. With how he is able to apply damage guard to himself on the trainer move, and also if you had it picked up in the grid from 5 out of 5, you had sync damage guard, right, which applied damage guard after using the sync move, so that's another attack you could take with Emmet and not have to worry about dropping his HP. So if I did have a 5 out of 5 Emmet, then I could have done definitely a better showing of that, but alas, I do not have a 5 out of 5 Emmet, and that, ended up taking a little bit of a dip in quality just because of that fact, but I don't really think it mattered too much. The point got across. Triple Univa maxing with 3 strikers, maxing out Nate's passive and circle. What else do you need? Granted, New Champion Rosa would have definitely been better for that, considering Hilda did literally nothing, but I mean, it's fine. It doesn't matter too much. You could definitely replace Hilda with pretty much any other striker if you wanted to try and replicate something else. Maybe like regular Hilda would have been fine. Yeah, I'm not going to bother to think about other Universe strikers. I don't think Elisa would have been that good because of her setup, but whatever. Doesn't matter that much. So let's finish this Emmet Showcase off. I know the battles were pretty short. Not really too many battles, just 2 stadium battles and an ultimate battle. 3 battles overall. I mean, that's okay, I guess. Whatever. Let's finish off with the ultimate battle versus Duroc. This battle was actually pretty fun for me because the big thing with using Emmet with Silver, which is why I saved him to use with Silver here, otherwise I could have just done a stadium battle for it, but the Duroc is a better showing, is that you can utilize Emmet's sync move to get not only support EX, but also set and extend Sand because of Silver. This would have been a better thing to do with maybe Paolo instead of Neo Champion Rosa, but I don't have Paolo. I wanted to try with Argenta, but she's weak to fire, and I just did not want to deal with that. So I went ahead and just I utilized Rosa, just also before the Sprint EX, which is extremely helpful because I do think that the -3 sync countdown from Rosa was very, very useful in having Sand stay up for Emmet's sync move as well, which is I'm not going to say it was necessary to win, but it was extremely helpful. Either way, this whole team kind of relies upon utilizing sync countdown at the start to get Rosa's thing moving quickly. Quad queuing with Rosa is preferred, but not necessary, because I'm pretty sure I also have, because you can also just flinch the enemy with Silver's massive Rock Slide. Gauge management on this team is it's pretty iffy, but you can also just use Rosa's trainer move to buff speed on top of the physical moves next buffing, so it's really not that bad not that big of a deal. I do think actually Emmet's I do think Emmet ends up losing the Sand here before using his sync move, but really it does not matter that much. The damage that he would have had otherwise is not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, we do lose the Sand, but that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. And again, we're setting Sand and extending it again with Emmet by utilizing his sync move here on top of getting support EX. So we are now at 4 sync buffs, which, oh, by the way, again, if Sand would have actually stayed up for Emmet's sync move, that would have KO'd the sides, gotten us another turn denial, and that would have made this battle look even better than what it does. Or if we would have KO'd that side there with the Stone Edge, but I didn't really factor in for much of that in this battle. I just kind of went with what I went with, I guess. But whatever, yeah. And Emmet being able to set in not only support X now for 4 sync buffs on this team, but also setting sand was extremely helpful. And we set up the Johto Passion again as well. It would have been nice if we had another method of sync countdown here in order to get to the sync move a little bit quicker. That would have been nice, but alas, don't really have that privilege right now. Emmet's definitely doing great damage for sure here. I mean, he is on type, so that is to be expected for the most part, but still, definitely really good damage for sure. Potions are also quite helpful too. We did have to potion up Emmet here because of obviously him needing to be above half health to get most of his damage, having the healthy advantage 5 or whatever it was called. So that was necessary to have. And as you can see, Sand was about to run out, so thankfully having Silver use his sync move here, because again, Silver does also set Sand again on his Mega because of how Megas work with on-entry passives and their passive skills. We were able to set Sand up again to make sure that we could ensure our KOs against Drak, because of course Drak does need field effects up, which is why of course Emmet did not do much damage on his first sync because there was no field effect up, no circle, no sand, none of that, which I don't think I don't think circles actually do work for Drak's passive, but I digress. And we finish him off here. Yeah, 45,000 damage. It's very nice. So yeah, having the sand setting was very good for this team. That is what I really think is good about Emmet combined with Silver, is that you are getting that sand extension, right? That setting of sand on Emmet's sync move combined with Silver setting sand on entry and setting sand upon Mega. This gives you a lot of good opportunity to set, again, as I stated way too many times now, set sand. Setting sand without having to abuse partners like Paolo, maybe Variety Giovanni, or like or have these like inferior supports like Ingo is definitely really good for sure. So this setup does work, especially because of the damage Emmet also provides. Like again, the turbo ramp from Neo Champion Rosa into Emmet, Emmet's sync move was very quick, right? A lot of sync countdown was going on. We got the support EX in from Rosa into effectively immediately Emmet's sync move there as well, which would have been made a little bit better if we were able to quad Q with Rosa, but I digress. We were able to get that in, of course, get his sync move in, get 4 sync buffs up, get sand extended again, and just do a ton of damage, because Emmet also does, of course, have the good damage capability with his rock slides and stone edges. He can still do pretty relevant damage, even without having amazing things like rock zone or rock rebuff, which doesn't even exist outside of Special Costume Steven. So I still do think Emmet's EX roll was a good upgrade, especially when facing what many consider to be probably some of the more the toughest battles in the game. Obviously, these battles are set to be based around gimmicks. They're based around different things that people may not like, right? Like it just locks too much of the game, which is fair for sure. But it is nice to consider that a unit as old as Emmet, almost upon 3 years old. I think he becomes 3 years old in like July, which is crazy. The fact that Emmet is now still able to take on these older battles is nice, especially because of the EX roll and setting sand. Obviously, is it necessary? No, I don't think it's necessary at all. I think Emmet could have definitely done it before alongside Silver, but the fact that he can do it and also apply the support EX is definitely very helpful for the overall damage of the team. And again, I think we would have been fine nonetheless without the support EX roll, but I do think it definitely helped quite a bit. So yeah, whatever. That's my thoughts about Emmet and his EX roll. I'm very happy with how it turned out, this video specifically. I do think Field probably would have been better for him, and that would have been definitely very nice to have on top of Sand Sync. Setting Rock Zone and Sand is very beneficial to so many rock types. Again, Silver, Paulo, 2 big ones right there. But whatever, I mean, it's fine. Support was definitely a good option too, and I think that's been proven here. So yeah, let me know what you think about Emmet's EX roll down in the comments below. I'll see y'all later, and I hope you all enjoyed.